Hello students, welcome to this class. I am Professor Naval Kishore from School of Management Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. As you have already learnt about the concept of planning, nature of planning, features of planning and importance of planning. Let us now learn about the process of planning. Now, you are aware that planning involves a series of sequential activities. Those activities are analyzed so that you can plan well for your organization. Now, the process of planning involves following. First, planning to plan. The management of the organization has to evolve a culture of planning across all divisions of the organization. Culture of planning means that by virtue of being involved in that organization, the managerial people of that organization, they must be involved in the whole range of the process of implementation of the planning, as well as wherever required the process of formation of planning. So, without planning, you do not do much in your organization. Therefore, a culture requires to be evolved in the organization. In addition to the culture, you need to have the philosophies and techniques of the planning. Philosophies and techniques of the planning, every organization has the process of formation of the plan so that that can be executed, that can be implemented by the first level or second level of the managerial level in that particular organization. So, that techniques, that philosophy, that cultures are to be involved as a part of that organization so that everybody who are required to be involved, they are included in the process of either implementation of planning or the process of the formation of the planning. In addition, you need to educate the managers. You need to train the managers. That training may be through the conferencing mode or that training may be through the face-to-face mode, so that all those persons who are involved in the process of the planning, they all are very much aware that how the planning is formulated, how the planning is implemented in that particular organization. Next, appraisal of internal situation. You all know that internal situation of the organization is very important for you. Therefore, top management, they discuss with the managers and they try to analyze the current state of the affairs. For example, existing plans, processes, activities, performance levels, achievements and problems. Because unless you are very much familiar with that, the regular performance of the employees, the detailed process activities of the existing plan, detailed achievements and the limitations of the plans, when you implemented that plan, the other managers, what are the problems they did face while implementing the plan, all these things are to be analyzed. And you need to analyze further the specific strength and weaknesses while implementing the planning. Whole organization's strength and weaknesses, you need to identify that. For example, the products and services which your organization supply, the financial position of your organization, the manpower and managerial resources available with your organization, the competitive position of your organization. Because once you analyze and you understand your own competitive position vis-a-vis your competitor, you will be able to plan in a better way. Profitability levels, market image, manufacturing and other facilities, research and development capacities, capital structure, and so on. Because if you know that about your own market image, if you know that about your own research and development activities, if you know about your own manufacturing capacities, you may think about future in a very, very easier way. You may plan the whole range of the planning activities for your organization in a very, very easier way, because you understand all operations, all process of your own organization. Therefore, the internal situation appraisal involves all those operations of your organization coming from the product, price, etc., to the budget, to the finance, to the research, to the innovation, to the profitability, to the market image. All those things are required to be analyzed in depth for the purpose of internal appraisal of the situation. After scanning the internal appraisal situation, now next step is appraisal of the external environment. Now, right now, whatever you analyzed, you studied, that was the internal environment, which were directly related to your organization. Now, when you are trying to analyze external environment, in this case, the management of the organization, they try to analyze all those external conditions which are going to influence your organization. For this purpose, understanding of the elements and events of the world outside your organization which affect your present and future functioning. That means appraisal of environmental trends, economic situation, social and cultural situation, technological developments, and other means of relevance are required to be analyzed. For example, you must be knowing that due to COVID, there was problem of transportation, there was problem of movement across the globe. Now, in that scenario, you need to make alternative arrangement for your planning. You need to plan well in advance that in that situation, how you are going to make your product available to the masses when this sort of transportation problem is there. So like that, if there is an economic situation or changes in the technological or the change in the technology as such, in that case, how you are going to respond to that? If the market changes, how you are going to respond to that? If the acceptance of the product that changes, either people are accepting more or people are accepting less, how you are going to respond to this external development which are beyond the control of your organization. And you need to also identify the present and future opportunities as well as threat so that you can plan in the best possible way. Next process is definition of key areas and issues for planning. Now, you have already analyzed the internal and external situation of your organization. Now you have to see whether in the light of external appraisal, the existing businesses, products, markets, processes and practices are relevant. First, if that is relevant, if it is not relevant, in that case, which aspect of them have to be retained and which aspect of them are to be get rid of. Now, accordingly, you have to think over what you wanted to retain, what you wanted to strengthen, what you wanted to refine, what you wanted to get modified. Depending upon the circumstances, you need to sometimes modify your operations, you need to strengthen some of the part of your operations, you may be required to leave some of the part of the operations which are not required there. You may be just thinking about refining of some of the operations, you may be thinking about modifying of some of the operations. Depending upon the circumstances, you need to do so. Now, as a result, you require new directions so that the competitive position of your organization may be strengthened. You want to bring about a better alignment between the organization and the external environment. For example, are you planning to go into the new business? Are you planning to take the new technologies? Are you planning to go for the new products or new markets? In that case, you have to think those key areas. That means you need to identify the possible measures which are necessary to cope up with the environmental opportunities as well as threats. Next is development of alternative plans for evaluation and choice. Development of alternative plans for evaluation and choice means whatever plans you are trying to think over, to formulate, now you have to analyze that plan in such a way that the several ways of means may be found out, may be identified. For example, managers have to apply their creative and innovative skills to generate these alternative plans regarding the missions of your organization, the objectives of your organization, the strategies which you are going to adopt, the policies and programs, etc., etc. So, whatever strategy you are going to adopt, for example, if you want to double your sell in the market, are you going to buy additional? Are you going to manufacture additional and enhance the manufacturing capacity, etc., etc.? You have to think well in advance that if you want to double, what strategy should you follow to double your sale? In that case, you need to develop all those alternative plans and which requires intensive thinking from the part of the managers. There may be several options with you, so that you are thinking to enhance your economic power, you are thinking to increase the profitability of your organization. So how you will be doing that? Are you going to enter into the new market? Are you going to have the new product? Are you going to create, that is, modify or enhance the existing market itself? Or are you going to have more clients, more customers, so on and so forth, so that every sub-stages you may have some or other alternative, so that you may think over that which alternative is best for your organization. And you have to think over that comparative positive and negative, comparative strength and weaknesses of your plan as well. Next is your formulation of medium range and short range plans. The plans may be broken into short range, medium range, long range. When there is a short range plan, broadly less than 1 year. When it is a medium range plan, broadly it may be up to 3 years. When it is long range plan, maybe 5 years plus. But all these things again depends upon the type of the products which you are having, the type of industry, type of the trade you have entered into. For example, if there is you are going to set up a dam. Now, dam is a long term things. If you are going to set up a textile industry, again long term. So you have to think comparatively about this short term and long term strategy. Because when you come to the medium range and short term strategy, it becomes more specific for the particular range of that plan, because short term and medium term detailed operations are chalked out, so that specifically you need to know the detail of each and every activities, so that you could think over how those activities could be executed. When the long term planning is there, obviously long term planning is for, as I said, you for more than 5 years, or it depends upon the nature of the product, nature of the industry, nature of the trade which you enter. And this medium term and medium term and short term planning are also called operational planning, because it is a functional management areas. That areas may be related to your manufacturing, where you want to increase, you want to decrease the manufacturing facilities. It may be marketing, where you want to just expand your market share, you want to market your product in the best possible way, you want to purchase from outside, or you want to manufacture yourself. What about the personnel involved in the process of your organization, the finance, research and development, and so on and so forth. These are the form of the functional management, therefore they are also called operational planning. Next is arrangements for implementation of plan. Obviously, when you plan, it requires resources. It requires whole range of support services, because the effective implementation of plans, decisions, this is the most significant part of the planning process, because the managers are supposed to implement that plan. Therefore, there is a cooperation between the top management and their counterpart. Authority and accountability must be clearly chalked out, so that everybody involved, they understand their accountability as well as authority. So for implementation of the plans, you need to provide resources, you need to chalk out the task involved in that, you need to make day-to-day decisions, you need to think about how to take initiative for activating the communication system in the organization, so on and so forth. So the resources, the support, accountability, authority, all these things are thought over very, very seriously, so that the implementation of plan could be done smoothly. Because whatever you have planned, that requires to be executed very smoothly, so that you are able to achieve your goal, objectives, etc., etc. So you have understood about the process of planning. Let us now come to the limitations of, as you all know that the planning is for the future, and you plan based on your whatever information and all those aspects, past trend, current trend. Based on that, you make something for the future, you plan for the future so that those future may be achieved. Now obviously, because it is a future oriented, therefore there may be some limitations of the plan. Because you are talking right now, you are talking for the next 2 years. Now you are not sure in the next 2 years what other external, internal and environmental forces will be operating. That you are not sure. Suppose there is a problems like COVID-19, in that case what happens? You might not be in a position to achieve your goal. So there are some limitations of the planning also. Let us learn those limitations. These limitations are, the first is about incomplete information. Incomplete information means you are planning for the next 4 years, 5 years or next 1 year, 2 years, whatever you are planning. Now this is based on your past information, present information, and based on that you are just going to plan for the future. You might not be in a position to obtain all those information which are required to plan your future, because it is based on your forecast, it is based on the likelihood of the events in future, it is based on certain assumptions and premises which may or may not be achieved from your part, or which may or may not turn out to be as you expected to turn out. Now, as a result of your planning gets affected adversely. Therefore, you might not be having the complete information. Next is based on certain assumptions. Planning is based on certain assumptions or premises, which depends on the likelihood of the behavior or likelihood of the events or likelihood of the activities which will happen in future. If that assumptions, if that premises would not come true, in that case you may not be able to achieve the planned target or whatever. So the based on certain assumptions you plan, if that assumptions come true, obviously your planning may be in the direction which you thought. But if that assumptions do not come true, in that case your planning may not be as you expected. Next is lack of control. Obviously, the external environment, you may not have the control over external environment because that is not in your hand. And there may be unpredictable also. Therefore, you do not have the control over the external environment. For example, natural calamities, sudden strikes, government policy changes, etc. etc. Rigidity. Whatever you have planned, that may be a little bit more rigid because immediately you cannot change that plan. It takes time because you need to discuss all stakeholders, you need to discuss the all persons in your organization, only then you can change. Therefore, the rigidity may come into the picture. Next is difficult to change with the changing environment. As you all know, that environment is very dynamic. It keeps on changing. And there is a time gap between the manufacturing and making the goods available to your clients, to your customers, to your stakeholders. Therefore, immediately you cannot change your plan because you cannot meet the requirement of changing environmental circumstances. Next is fluid process. Obviously, there is a fluid process because the future is dynamic. Therefore, all the time it may not be possible for you to achieve all those targets which you just you were expected to achieve that. And you may not visualize all those aspects, you may not integrate all those aspects, you may not get the composite view of past, present and future. As a result, you may suffer. Next is about the plans may remain on paper. This means that sometimes the implementation is not as expected as you wanted to do that, because the people may be busy in some other routine activities. As a result, they might not be able to implement the plan as you wanted to implement that. Next is difficult to implement at unit level. Even at the corporate level, if that is there, in that case also you are not able to implement at the functional level, at the ground level. So these are the limitations of your what is called this planning. With this, quickly would like to see the forecasting. See, forecasting, you are thinking about the future. You are just forecasting, as in the weather, all the time you must be reading in the newspaper that the forecast of the weather is that today there may be rain, there may not be rain. So what you are doing here, you are forecasting for the next 4 years, 5 years, whatever. For example, if you are thinking that competitive strength, you are thinking about revolutionary development in TV, or you are thinking about the liberalization of the economic situation, etc., etc. Based on that, you want to forecast. And there may be, these forecasts are based on certain premises. The premises means if you are, whatever you are trying to foresee, in that situation that you wanted to foresee this, that this event will happen in this way. There may be external premises, there may be internal premises. External premises may involve economic and business conditions, social, political, technological and other trends. Similarly, internal premises may be your cash flow, cost of products, profitability, etc. It may be tangible. For example, you wanted to increase the sales value to 100 crores or 50 crores. It may be intangible when you are talking about competence and character of managerial personnel. It may be controllable, that is the internal, if it is organizational things, internal, for example, advertising expenditure, it is controllable. But if the government policy changes, obviously that is uncontrollable. Like that, you have to think about, whenever you are forecasting, you have to a little bit more careful, so that whatever you are for more scientific, more rational, more logical, you need to get more information, so that whatever you forecast, you may be able to realize that. Thank you. Today you have learnt about the process of planning, limitation of planning and forecasting as an element of planning. Thank you very much.